Rev up your engines!
All right, are they breaking the laws of physics? Well, an electric Fiat 500 drove at highway speeds without running down the battery at all, thanks to inductive charging. Now this electric Fiat 500 traveled at highway speeds without using any of the energy stored in the battery. There's only one catch, because people always say to me, Scotty, why can't you just charge the battery while you're driving down the road by putting alternators on the wheels? And I explained, well, you're driving it with battery power to get the energy to make the car move, and if you're using some of that energy to recharge the battery, it would take more energy to do that, and it's an end-loss process. That's it. So how did the magical Italians do this? Well, they have a test track that they did it on, and it's got inductive charging laid inside the road. And unless the United States is going to spend gazillion dollars putting inductive chargers under all our highways so they charge our electric cars that we drive, that's a no-goer. It doesn't work. You see the trains coming into the cities here on the East Coast, right? As soon as they get in the cities, they have electric power wires on the top, and they got those electric prongs coming out of the train, and they're running on electricity. If they go further out where there aren't electric wires anymore, then they go back to running the diesel engine that runs a generator that sends power to electric motors that drive them. It's not a miracle that this Fiat 500 drove and didn't use any of its battery power. It's because it's in an inductive field and a special track that's got the inductive coils in it to recharge it as it goes. Well, you can imagine, we don't even have enough electricity to charge cars anyways in this country, and certainly not enough charging stations, and that's just putting a station here and there. If you're going to have to put inductive coils under all the highways, it would cost so much money, we'd go bankrupt building the stupid things. Basically, they turned this test track. It's almost like the electric cars I had as a kid. They went on the tracks and snapped together, and there was a transformer that sent electricity to the slots, and the slot cars went around the circle being charged by the electricity that was plugged into the wall that went on the tracks. Only this is inductive. It doesn't have to actually touch anything. It's inductive. The electric fields are there, and as it goes through, it runs the vehicle. But, like I said, what is the point of this? Maybe Elon will get involved in this too and say, yes, this is the future, inductive charging. We're going to build all the roads in the United States with inductive charging, and oh, who cares how much money it costs? I got more money than anybody. So the Italians have a giant test track somewhere in Italy. They're driving their electric Fiats around without using the battery power. No mention at the cost of building the track and the inductive charges, of course. Tom says, should I change my differential fluid? I got an 03 Honda Pilot, 300,000 miles. I've never changed the differential fluid. Will it hurt anything if I change the fluid? Change it now. You should have changed it before. Differentials just go by splash lubrication. There's gears, the oil's in it, it just splashes around, it comes down, splashes around. An automatic transmission is totally different. It's got an oil pump, just like your car's engine. There's an oil pump in your automatic transmission. It pumps the transmission fluid, builds up pressure, it shifts by pressure differential, goes through tiny little holes, electric solenoids, very complex. It's got to have pure, clean fluid in it. A differential, just like a standard transmission, the oil just splashes around, so change it now. You might drain it out and find it comes out like sludge, and it'll be a good thing you changed it. Eventually, it'll just wear out. I have personally done some that you take the drain plug, and the oil doesn't come out like oil. It comes out like tar. It's so thick. Do change it. Get the Honda fluid. It's very important that the Hondas use the Honda fluid. They use a special fluid that hardly anybody else uses. Get the Honda fluid and change it now. And if you never do it in the future, you don't have to do it. You can get away with changing every 80,000 miles or 100,000 miles, as long as you keep it clean. And you went 300,000, so definitely change it now. Neutron says, I have a key fob battery change issue. I got no name Dodge Challenger. The remote starts, it unlocks. And every now and then, it'll say key fob not detected, and when I push the button to start, I'll hear 3 beeps and no response. Numero uno. Just go and get a higher quality battery. Could be not a crappy battery. I see it all the time, especially if you get someone that's made in China. And sometimes you can get like 20 of those batteries for like $5, right? But if you go to the drugstore to buy them, they're like 12 bucks a piece. Well, there's a difference in quality in a $12 one and the one that you get 10 of them for $5. First, get a quality battery. If it's not that, get another key fob. They do wear out over time. And sometimes just the fact of taking them apart, sometimes it jolts them. you might have had static electricity on your fingers. If you're going to do that, you really need to wear those electronic gloves with a ground strap so you don't have electricity that's static touching it. That can fry the whole key fob. So if you didn't do that, you might have fried the key fob. So you might need a new one. And they can be reprogrammed. It's not hard to do. You can check out those guys, Tom's Keys, online that can sell you the stuff online and a machine to program them. Really nice guys, Tom Keys. You can check them out. But try a quality battery first and make sure your hand's got those fancy electronic gloves on it and they're grounded, because if they aren't, static electricity will destroy one of those key fobs. They're computers, mini computers, and have one little static electricity zap. It'll destroy them. Fish Taco 69 says, I have a low idle in my car after I installed LED lights. I got a 2012 Tacoma. I changed my front lights and put in LEDs. You did mention that you cleaned the battery with a battery cleaning spray. You took your battery terminals off, cleaned it. It has nothing to do with the LEDs. What happens is when you disconnected the battery, that resets the idle. And Toyotas are weird like that. If you drive it for a week, it'll probably go back to normal by itself. Start your car up. Idle it at about 1,800 RPM for 2 minutes, sitting in the driveway with everything turned off. Then turn on the headlights and your AC. Again, idle it at about 1,800 RPM for 5 or 6 minutes. Then drive it around. It should equilibrate the idle. Now you say it's idle about 500 RPM. That will often happen just from disconnecting the battery. It wasn't the LED lights that did it. It was disconnecting the battery. And that's how you can reset it yourself. Now if that doesn't work, you take it to a guy like me. We have computers that we can fiddle with the idle with to force them to idle correctly. But normally, the procedure I just showed will fix it perfectly fine. Light Skin Mocha says, I have a 2004 Chrysler Sebring Touring convertible that won't stay running. Alternator and a battery have been replaced, but the alternator is not charging the battery. It stalls when the battery runs out of power. Yours isn't charged. You change the alternator, you change the battery, and it still won't charge. The first thing I would do, pay a guy like me to analyze the wiring. Pray you have a wiring problem, because you said in the rest of your letter that somebody said it could be the ECU you replaced that's still doing the same thing. Yes, the ECU ultimately is what makes the alternator charge the battery, and then when it's full, stop charging the battery. But, and this is a gigantic but, if there's a wiring short between the alternator and the ignition switch and the computer, it's not going to charge regardless. And unfortunately for you, if that is the case, putting in that new computer without fixing that wiring problem could have fried the new computer. So you're going to have to find a guy like me, a pro mechanic. And he might say, yeah, there's a short here and I fixed it, but now we're going to have to replace the computer again because that short also ruined the driver circuit on the computer. It can happen. That's why I tell people, don't ever just guess, oh, it needs a computer, I'm going to put one in. Because if anything is shorting the old computer out, you put a new computer in, it will short that out, and you just pissed away a bunch of money on a new computer. So have a pro find what's wrong with the wiring on that car, and pray it didn't fry your new computer. 10th generation Accord says, where can we look for recalls? I have a 2018 Accord 1.5 turbo. I've heard there's some recalls on it with the fuel injection system. How can I find out if this is true? You go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association. Everybody calls it NHTSA. It's a government-run free website. You just go there. It's very easy to get to. Then you go to the form and you put in your VIN number. It's that easy. And if there's any recalls, they will magically pop up on your screen, print out the data, then go to the dealer and say, you're fixing this crap for free because there's a recall for this. It's law, it's federal law. Anybody can go to it, go there, and you can put in your VIN number, and you can look up whatever you want. And for those of you who have a car that doesn't have a recall but has a problem, you can also report problems there. And the coolest thing is, if enough people, thousands of them, report that this particular car has this particular problem, they launch an investigation. And if the investigation says, yes, that's true, then it can turn into a recall. Then, even though they're not going to pay for it now, the dealership will have to pay for it later if it is turned into a recall. So it's a very good site for consumers. Phenomenal thing. I mean, it's one of the few things the government's doing that's worth stuff. So take advantage of it. Tell your friends about it. You ever get a problem, report it there. They screw up making something, they'll always say, they don't have that problem. Go to the dealer. Does my transmission's acting up? Oh, those transmissions never break, right? Well, you go there and you can see a bunch of people complaining. If they don't do anything about it, you can always get involved in a class action lawsuit. There's people that will be around there on the internet, lawyers that will say, you want to join this class action lawsuit? You own this car. We're starting one up. You just have to go there and look around a little bit. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.